to Halton News right here on your TV. It's Monday, November 9th, and I'm Jessica Kading. Taking a look at our current COVID-19 numbers here in Halton, we have 431 active cases reported in the region, and unfortunately, one additional death since our last update. Breaking these numbers down by region, there are 82 active cases in Burlington, 210 in Oakville, 117 in Milton, and only 25 in the town of Halton Hills. There are 6 ongoing outbreaks at retirement and long-term care homes in the region. Those currently affected are Amica Georgetown Retirement Home, Chartwell Waterford Long-Term Care, Post Inn Village, the Village of Tansley Woods, Trafalgar Lodge, and Windham Manor. These outbreaks account for 144 of the COVID-19 cases in our region. Promising news about a vaccine Pfizer is producing came out today. Our federal procurement minister, Oakville's MP Anita Anand, has those details for us today.
Well, the company Pfizer announced that it had a 90% success rate with its clinical trials in terms of its vaccine candidate. I just wanted to mention that from a Canadian perspective, we do have a contract with Pfizer to procure 20 million doses of that vaccine candidate. But it is one of many vaccine candidates that Canada has agreements with. In total, we have contracts which allow Canadians to have access to up to over 300 million doses of vaccines. The Pfizer candidate is an mRNA vaccine type. There are others, for example, the viral vector and the protein subunit are also different types of vaccine candidates, and Canada also has access to those different types of candidates. And why that's important is that we need to make sure that we have a diverse range of vaccines that Canadians can have access to, because at this stage, it's not certain which ones are crossing the finish line or which ones will have Health Canada approval. And those are two very important points before we have distribution out to Canadians themselves.
As mentioned, the vaccine in question is said to be about 90% effective. I asked MP Anand to elaborate on what that means exactly.
Well, the most important thing that it should signal is that it's very promising, but it's not determinative. Before we would have any vaccines distributed to Canadians, they would have to pass phase 3 clinical trials within that company's scientific research and then pass Health Canada approval. And so what we are making sure we do in Canada is to follow the science. It's important to remember that that press release from Pfizer this morning was from the company. It wasn't from a scientific independent agency. And that's what we're going to continue to need and to watch, the science, that is, to make sure that we are making Canadians most safe when vaccines are going to be distributed.
A hotel guest at the Sandman Hotel in Oakville was robbed at gunpoint in the early hours this morning. It was about 4 a.m. that a female and a male robbed a victim before fleeing in a vehicle. But Halton police were able to stop and arrest them a short time later, seizing the loaded handgun. 25-year-old Robert Campbell of Richmond Hill and 20-year-old Kaylee Zelnicker of Thornhill are each facing multiple related charges. Anyone with any information is asked to call Detective Omar Nadeem of the Oakville Criminal Investigations Bureau at 905-825-4747, extension 2278. $1.75 billion. That's how much the Trudeau government has announced it will be putting into universal broadband to connect all Canadians to reliable high-speed internet. However, this is the second major funding announcement concerning internet in the past few days. James Bowler has more.
In Thursday's provincial budget, Minister of Finance Rod Phillips announced funding to the tune of nearly $1 billion to support expansion of broadband and cellular service in the province.
Now, working with partners in the private sector and other levels of government, Mr. Speaker, this investment will be leveraged many, many times.
Yeah, I mean, we're thrilled with it.
Matt Wickham, Vice President and General Manager for Cogeco, says the announcement is good news for the province and for Cogeco.
It's so consistent with what we were doing here at Cogeco. We made massive network investments right across our 400 communities that we serve, from Gaspé in the east all the way to, Windsor in southwestern Ontario. So this is it's so important. It's so important right now in these times to ensure that, communities and households have connectivity to high speed fiber broadband networks, not only just to keep them connected, but to help speed the economic recovery. So these kind of collaborative efforts with all layers of government is terrifically important and very exciting for us.
Previously, Cogeco announced a commitment to spend $1 billion on network expansion over 4 years. Those plans are coming to fruition with recent announcements in southwestern Ontario.
Just recently, we made an announcement in the towns of Essex and Kingsville and the municipality of Leamington of a $13 million network investment that will provide access to 3,600 homes and small businesses and large businesses in those communities to be able to connect them to high-speed internet. Of that $13 million, $6.1 million comes from a government initiative called SWIFT, the Southwest Ontario Integrated Fiber Technology Initiative. It's a terrific initiative, one that we actually participate in quite extensively. But then there's been others. In September, we made an announcement in the town of Hawkesbury and its surrounding areas. A $7 million investment will provide connectivity to another 3,600 homes and businesses there. So these kind of collaborative efforts between the government and ourselves, it's a great opportunity for underserved and unserved, quite frankly, communities to get quality high-speed internet. I mean, we have right now over 40 open bids with the various government initiatives, not even including the recent federal government announcements. So you can expect many more announcements along these lines.
For Halton News, I'm James Bowler.
Meanwhile, Milton MP Adam Van Couverden is relieved more money is being put into the Universal Broadband Fund. In speaking with him earlier this afternoon, he says this will help residents and businesses in rural Milton, Campbellville, and Burlington.
Any of the rural households that you visit, if you go to local farms and stuff, they're local businesses as well. So it's really, really important that everybody is connected. It's a safety issue. And, I compare it to like electricity and the railroad 100 years ago. When communities were connected by rail, then they were able to participate fully in the economy. And we've got to make sure that everybody's able to participate fully in 2020 as well. This is an issue that's existed long before the pandemic. It's just that the pandemic has caused a lot of us to work from home, to learn from home in the case of a lot of kids. But also telehealth has become more prominent as people are less likely to want to go and get an in-person doctor's appointment for something not related to the pandemic. Anyway, there are just a million reasons why people need to be connected in 2020. It allows full participation in the economy and in society. And our government has decided that everybody is going to be connected. And we're getting started right now.
The Oakville Community Foundation has launched their 2020 Give Oakville campaign. It supports granting for local charities. Considering the impact COVID-19 has had on the giving sector, donations have never been more needed. Director of Philanthropy, Sarah McPherson, explains.
We are at the precipice of a funding need and a funding crunch. So we've actually just launched last week Give Oakville. Give Oakville is our crowdfunding platform, which we host. It's not a third-party system, anything of that nature. This is us inherently and internally. So right now, on a communications level, it is everything we are doing. Every aspect of our communications is articulating not just what we offer. One of the most important things I can offer to you as to why people would even choose to give to a charity through us is that the foundation is covering 100% of those transaction fees. So if you added $1 to a charity, that $1 is going to them, guaranteed. But we are also amplifying the funds that are coming in through that to, in actual fact, to help amplify what any individual gives. So we have 100,000 that we've given to the public at large. Those are people who are not our fund holders. Those are our donors, general people. We're amplifying your gifts. And so if you pick charity X, your dollars will go to them plus whatever we can add to it. We also have a contribution that we're amplifying to our fund holders, which is another $150,000 to help grow what they also give. So our capacity is $1 million plus for all of the charities who've applied for funding. And the other piece I will add to the Give, and it's part of our communications plan, is these are all local charities and they've all been assessed for doing and supporting our most vulnerable in the community.
That episode of The Issue will air tomorrow night right here on your TV. And the Burlington Food Bank continues to give to those who need it in our community. If you know anyone who could benefit from their services or you could use some assistance, please do not hesitate to give them a call. I'll turn it over now to the Executive Director.
Robin Bailey, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank, and we just wanted to thank a couple of different organizations and people throughout the city. The first one, we wanted to thank Cogeco and Your TV Halton. Thank you so much for getting our message out to the community and letting people know the need that we have here at the Burlington Food Bank and the way that they can support us. So again, thank you so much to Your TV Halton. We also wanted to thank Jane McKenna and her office, who are hosting one of our bins at their office on Brock Street. You can drop in, drop off food there. We go by and pick it up. That way it can be contactless and safe for you to donate for us here at the Burlington Food Bank. And again, thank you to Jane and all of her staff for doing that for us. We also wanted to thank the Burlington Devil Rays Aquatic. They just showed up with just under 900 pounds of food. Thank you so much, girls and guys who are out there supporting us, collecting food and doing food drives for us. Again, it just feels like the gift of giving back is continuing on, even though we don't have it officially. Again, thanks to the Devil Rays. And finally, we want to thank the veterans who served this country and are continuing to serve here in Canada and around the world in supporting our freedoms and our ability to bring peace around the world. So this Remembrance Day on Wednesday, make sure that you take some time to observe that. You can go to burlingtonlegion.com and watch the closed circuit telecast of that event. And we here at the Burlington Food Bank will make sure that we pause as a staff and volunteers, as we do every Remembrance Day. We take some time, stop everything that's going on, and observe the dedication and the service that people have given to us to give us all that we have here in Canada. Again, to those who are in need of help, make sure that you're contacting us, info@burlingtonfoodbank.ca, or give us a call, 905-637-2273.
And we will have Remembrance Day coverage for you right here on your TV starting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. We do need to take a short break right now, but we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Halton News. Remembrance Day is a time of reflection for us to take the time to honor our veterans, and we're certainly going to do that with our special Remembrance Day show starting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. But what about those who lived through the wars? In this next special feature, we meet a Georgetown resident who uses art to express her memories of a family persecuted for being Jewish.
Jacob Street. That's how it looked in 97 when we were there.
Visual artist Barbara Riss is always working away in her Georgetown home, but at this time of year, she often recalls her childhood growing up in Chaddock, a small Jewish community in German-occupied Czechoslovakia.
My father said nobody believed and knew what was going on. And then when it came out and when Jewish neighbors disappeared, you thought they left to Switzerland or to America. It was the rumors. When it was too late, then you ended up in trouble.
While Barbara's father was working abroad, German soldiers broke into her home. She, along with her older sister and mother, were sent to a concentration camp.
My mother and my sister were crying because my mom wanted rather to kill herself and my sister, and I remember that, and I was shaking, and then we put things in the baby buggy and we marked off.
During her time in the camp, she was exposed to harsh conditions and violent atrocities, putting her in a constant state of fear.
You're scared, you're helpless, so that becomes your normal. There were no bathrooms, there were ditches, and you had to walk to the place, and there were these big, ugly, long worms on the way. And I remember the kid blowing up in front of me because he went back and forth on it, and it wasn't mine.
9 months later, the Russian military freed the camp prisoners. With her sister and mother, Barbara escaped and tried to reconnect with surviving family members.
Everybody was somewhere else. My father was already with the Americans to the west, but we didn't know. My uncle ended up in Siberia. He died there, which we find out in 1963, and my aunt was raped by soldiers and so many bad things happened to her, she committed suicide.
When World War II ended, Barbara's family was reunited, but for Barbara, the nightmare wasn't over.
The after effect, wake up screaming at night. When an airplane flew, later when the war was over and an airplane flew, I would hide.
Barbara and her family moved to Germany under the guise of Catholics. The war ended, but the tensions between cultures were still alive.
You were a foreigner, even so. And they spoke a different slang too. But the locals spoke differently, and the locals did not like people coming from the East.
Barbara's parents always hid their Jewish culture in fear of persecution. They dyed their hair and told everyone they were German. Barbara herself wasn't even aware she was Jewish until she was a teenager.
I knew something was different about me. And then when they thought I was ready to talk about it, I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to be a normal person. You forget it. You do want to be like the other kids, and you just put everything out of your head. You don't want to be different. You don't want to show what you went through.
But it was only until after the war, Barbara began crafting her skills as an artist.
And then after the war, I had no toys or anything. So my father tried to sell fertilizer. And he had these advertisements. There was always a white page. And I could draw and print stories. That's what I made my fantasy world. And my fantasy world were little mushrooms, and there were little people living underneath, and they had a beautiful life, and like little dwarfs, but I was in between them, and so made my fantasy world. That was my big savior.
Barbara has since made herself into one of the region's top artists. Her work has been displayed in art exhibitions across the globe. She uses her talent as a way to get through the dark times in her life and give herself purpose.
I survived, and there must be a good reason why I'm still here. There is positive and negative in life, but you have to focus on the positive and have hope. That's the only thing that can pull us out, hope.
Taking a look now at our weather forecast. I hope you have all been enjoying the gorgeous weather. How nice and warm has it been for the month of November, and it will stay with us for a little while still. Tomorrow up to 20 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Enjoy that sunshine. There's a 40% chance of showers on Wednesday. Otherwise, still quite pleasant, 17 degrees as our afternoon high with a mix of sun and clouds. Thursday only we're getting up to 10. We'll start cooling down to more seasonal temperatures as our 5-day forecast goes on. And as for Saturday, only reaching 5 degrees. And here's a look now at how some of Halton's top companies performed on the markets today. Still ahead, we have Carol Elizabeth, who will inspire you with her story. We'll be right back with that after the break. Welcome back to Halton News. The Wallet to Wealth event is quickly approaching, and they are going virtual this year. Carol Elizabeth is one of the featured speakers, and she has an inspiring message to share.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I am so excited for the event. There is not much more that lifts me up in life than giving back to others and speaking to women in particular about personal development and growth. And my mission is really to help people understand that they are worthy and capable of so much more than they probably think, and that you are capable to do anything that is in your life, in your vision. And so I was a once couch potato turned 2-time fitness pro, all in my 40s. I was a single mom staying at home, making no income, to a 7-figure income earner, all in my 40s. And so if I can do some of these things, I know that anybody can with the right guidance and support and mentorship. So I'm really lit up to speak on Thursday, and it's such an incredible event. Whitney has done such a beautiful job, and anything that we can do to raise awareness for women and women in need, and to be able to give back in any way that we can, I feel just is such a beautiful thing to be a part of.
And without giving it all away, I asked Carol if she could share some of the advice or words of wisdom that she plans to share with attendees on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I really love to leave people with tips and steps and action items. I mean, it's one thing to be motivated, it's one thing to be inspired. So there's kind of my 4 pillars that I always help people with, and I call it my method for more, how to take action and get more in life, whether that's more fun, more abundance, more health, any of that. So I recently had my own health journey a couple of years ago. I went through breast cancer, and I utilized everything that I learned through my fitness career, through my entrepreneur journey, through the mud and the muck of life, harnessing into having our why and being around a community that lifts you up, and really being able to step into what I like to call that warrior within, being that mentor that's inside of you right now. You just might need a little help uncovering her.
And for those not fully convinced yet, Carol Elizabeth explains why you really should get your ticket this year.
You should get the tickets for lots of reasons. First off, I know the ladies that are speaking and the stories that you're going to hear, the energy that you're going to be around at a time like now, where we want to be around community and people that are giving back and doing things. Again, it's for an incredible cause, for the Halton Women's Shelter. So if nothing more, you're giving back. And what I know for certain is when you give to others, you get more in return. So show up, grab some girlfriends, socially distance, do whatever you need to do, but be there on Thursday.
She is one of the incredibly inspirational women being featured at Wallet to Wealth, all with their own unique stories and resilience and perseverance. The goal is to raise $30,000 for this event, and that will go to Halton Women's Place. To learn more, go to wallettowealth.ca. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to Halton News right here on your TV. We will be back tomorrow night live at 5. Until then, I invite you to connect with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at YourTVHalton. You can also visit us online at yourtv.tv. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Kading.